It's a simple question. What is the best job in Big 12 football right now? Which head coaching job is best? I saw Andy and Ari on 3 doing this across the country, putting together a top 10. And I thought, man, it's another one of those lists you look at and you think, man, if you're going to bring this back to the Big 12, it's a really tough question to answer because there is so much parity and teams are so even in terms of resources and what they have at their disposal. So how would you rank the top 5? I'm going to give you a top 5 jobs in the Big 12. Okay. I think this will create a bit of controversy. I asked you guys on Twitter, and I did find one person who had the same top 3 as I did, at least. So maybe a bit more consistency on this one than the last list I did, which was just what is the best Big 12 football program right now, which I ranked Utah number 1 there. So here's how I broke down the criteria, because that's got to be the first question that you ask if you're ranking best jobs in the Big 12. Well, what is the criteria we are ranking all of these by? Okay, good question. Number 1, NIL support. Got to be there. Total key. Table stakes in today's day and age if you want to win big in college athletics. Tradition, which I think of this more in the 10 to 15 to 20 year tradition. You know, what college kids have been aware of throughout their entire life. But we can certainly extend some of that to a long-term tradition if need be. Location, like proximity to talent, because even if it does take money to get the talent, a lot of places are going to have the money to match you. But if you are closer to more big name talent, you're going to have more access to spend your money on good players. And what about your fan base? Do you have a passionate fan base? Do you have a lot of fan support? Is it a place that is going to give you a great home field advantage, for instance, to be able to win more often? Those are the main considerations that I had here in putting together my top 5 jobs in the Big 12. If you wanted to do like an outside looking in, others receiving votes, you know, I mean, speaking of Utah fans, I did not include Utah in the top 5. That's a really tough one for me to know what to do with in terms of what it is as a job, because I mean, Kyle Whittingham is a Hall of Fame head coach who has been a complete rock star there and taken that job. He has ascended the job from G5 kind of job to winning Pac-12 championships, but is that just him? I mean, we literally don't know what this job looks like in the Power 5 without Kyle Whittingham. So like, that's a hard one for me, man. And you're also in the same state as a job to me that is a top 5 job, which I think makes it tougher. I have Oklahoma State just on the outside looking in. Very easily could swap Oklahoma State out for 4 or 5 here. I think it's pretty close toward the end. West Virginia, you could certainly make a case for as well. If you were going deeper back with your history, I think that helps West Virginia as opposed to more like certainly like the last 5 years or so have been a little bit more of a struggle. But let's start with number 5. Okay, number 5. Again, pretty slim margin here, but I'm going with Baylor at number 5. Okay. Baylor has had some really high highs in recent history under 3 different coaches. So that's a part of this, shown that you can be really successful there, whether you're Dave Aranda, Matt Rule, or of course, Art Briles. Multiple coaches playing for and winning Big 12 titles. The location is a big advantage here. You're pretty close to Dallas. This can be a really nice bounce back place for recruits that leave the state of Texas, go somewhere big in the SEC. Doesn't work out. They're not getting the playing time they want. If you have enough NIL money, which I think Baylor at least has adequate NIL money, you can be the perfect landing spot where they're like, well, I'll come back home. I'll play close to home in a good program in the Big 12. Baylor can be that. I mentioned the NIL seems adequate. I know Baylor made a big deal with Aranda and the We Pay Players thing. Is that what they had on the shirts? So maybe a little late to the party there, but it seems like Baylor is doing a pretty good job as far as that is concerned now. You do have smaller fan base. It's not like an overwhelming home field advantage, so it is a very nice stadium. Love McLean. But that would be one of the things holding you back from being higher on the list. I do feel like number 4 will be a bit controversial here. Some people may not have seen this one coming, but I'm going Arizona State at number 4. It's always been really a sleeping giant kind of job, okay? Massive enrollment. It is huge. 79,000 students at Arizona State, right? You've got a massive upside with that. Now you got to make them care because there's a lot to do there. It's a huge party school. But if you win and you win consistently, that upside is there because of the alumni base and how many students are there to make that really, really raucous and a big deal and something that feels huge. I think location is a massive advantage here. If you're talking about attracting talent, selling, hey, come play in the warm weather that we have here year round at the number one party school in America. Okay, that's a pretty good sell to a high school kid right now, assuming that your money is there. And my evidence for Arizona State at least being adequate in NIL is just that they kept pretty much that entire roster together. Aside of losing Scadaboo to the draft, I mean, they kept that roster pretty much together. They didn't let Dan Lanning come and snatch Sam Levitt, right? So they've got to have some money to be able to do that. I think that is at least a positive. I know the athletic department has had to, be really subsidized heavily by the university, but in terms of boosters, NIL, it seems like things are at least in a decent spot there. A tradition here, obviously, I mean, that's somewhat lacking, and that's why, your pushback to me could be, well, John, sleeping giant means that they haven't really won like that. So is it fair to include them there? I think because of the potential, I do. Because of the potential, I do. Okay, number 3. We're now into the top 3. I told you, top 3, I think, is where you've got to break. I think the top 3 here are pretty solidified to me. I'm going Texas Tech at number 3. I saw a lot of you on Twitter put Texas Tech number 1, which obviously the selling point here is NIL. I've already discussed Cody Campbell a whole bunch tonight. He's got multi-billion dollars to spend on NIL. Texas Tech is not being outspent by anybody, and that doesn't just go to players. We're also talking about the incredible facilities that they have now. Like Texas Tech is taking full advantage of all that money that they have at their disposal there. It's a great time to be loaded for bear with money, and Texas Tech is capitalizing on that at this moment. Texas Tech also has a really passionate fan base that can create an awesome home field environment when you are winning. You're winning consistently. Texas Tech's going to make that a what to play at, right? I forget what I can and can't say on YouTube. Going to make that a real B to play at, if Texas Tech's out there and winning. Location, you are in the state of Texas. Yes, more remote. It's out there. Not as good a location as like a TCU or a Baylor, but you still have some advantage to being in the state of Texas in terms of proximity to talent. And tradition, look, let's be frank, that's lacking. That's lacking. We're talking about going back to Mike Leach for double-digit win seasons. The recent tradition here is lacking, which is what pulls it back, I think, to number 3 for me. We got to see it happen. Texas Tech, kind of like Arizona State, all this potential there, but let's see it actually happen. Number 2, I'm going TCU. Number 2 is TCU. They were actually number 2 on my best Big 12 programs list right now. They're number 2 on the best jobs in the Big 12 list. Okay. This is all about location, right? TCU is in DFW. It's unbelievable proximity to talent. It's why Gary Patterson was always, TCU for a long time has recruited at the highest level of all the Big 12 schools minus Texas and Oklahoma when they were in the league. You are just in the best possible place, basically, in the country to be recruiting football talent. And that goes for when guys roll over to Alabama from the state of Texas. They flame out there after a year. They're not getting, they're backlogged. They're not getting the PT. You are a great landing spot, and we saw TCU execute that a lot in the transfer portal already. They kept their quarterback. If we're talking NIL support, they kept Josh Hoover from going to Tennessee. I think that means you got to have at least a decent amount of cash to keep the roster together and hold it intact there. One of the big selling points here, much like Baylor, lots of success over the past 10 to 15 years, multiple 12-plus win seasons, played for a national championship. Like they went to one playoff, should have gone to another in 2014. It's just been high level success achieved there. Fan base is small. It's not a great home field advantage. Those are a couple of drawbacks there for TCU there. But man, there's a lot to like. There is a lot to like about what TCU has to offer as a job. I think it would be hard. I think it would be hard to look at that job as a potential coach and say that doesn't have a whole world and wealth of potential, because we've seen it. I still think this is one of the things I had to be objective in my top programs ranking. Like, I still think Sonny Dykes has a lot to prove if he's going to be an elite coach. I don't think he's there at all, even though he's made a national championship game. But he made a national championship game. Like, I'm not thinking he's an elite coach, but he did it at TCU because those are the advantages that are there with that job. I'm going BYU number one right now. Okay. I'm going BYU number one right now. NIL support is there. I think almost as much as Texas Tech, like in terms of just having the money there and available for them, it's there. They got AJ DeBonsta to come play hoops for them. That was not cheap. That was not cheap at all. Now, the question and the caveat I would have here is, are there some that would be clinging too much to not wanting to be perceived as a school that spends a ton of money? Because we've already seen that cause some issues there. So maybe that could give you a little bit of pause. But with this great NIL support, which I think is clearly top 2 in the conference, you have a massive global fan base here. I mean, this is not just a huge fan base to people that are filling it up in Provo at Lavelle Edwards every single Saturday. You've got a global fan base because of the connection to the LDS church. Whatever you feel about that, it is an advantage to have that. And it means that you are a bigger brand across the sport because of it. And then the fans that do fill it up, it's a hell of a home field advantage. It is a really difficult place to play because of the time zone. You get a lot of night games. So, man, there's a lot that is built in with like the fan advantage there, I feel like, at BYU. And when you combine that with the money, I think that's a pretty tough force to turn down when you're talking about potential in these jobs. Now, like location, just okay. I mean, it's cool, a spot in the mountains, Utah, like it's okay, but it's certainly not Arizona State. It's certainly not TCU. It's not even like Baylor being as close to Dallas as it is. They do have very good long-term tradition. If you're talking short to medium term, it's okay. Long-term tradition, though, they've got one of the Big 12 natties along with Colorado. So there's some help there. I think 1 through 3 are pretty interchangeable, and then there's a big drop-off. It's hard to parse between the 3 right now, but I would look at it and say like BYU, TCU, Texas Tech, I think are really your top 3 jobs in the conference right now.